All right, so plants are provision for man and beast. What does that mean when you see the word provision? Micah?
Made for, like, to help them live.
Right, they're put there to take care of you, right? And to give you what you need. Autumn, what were you gonna say?
Provide.
Right, the word provide is the root word. That's very good. So the verse at the top of the page says, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, whose seed is in itself." So what does that mean? A seed in itself.
A seed inside seed.
Yeah, a seed produces a plant when you plant it and it grows, and then that plant has seeds that when you plant makes another plant, and it just keeps going and going and going. Seed in a seed. So 3.1 is called Design to Produce. So follow along as I read. Okay, everybody looking? It says, "Almost anywhere you go on earth, you will find plants. Some are able to grow in hot deserts. Others live in the icy Arctic regions of the earth. Some even live inside the bodies of animals. There are more than 350,000 different kinds of plants. There are also far more individual plants than individual animals and people. Think of a grass plant and you will understand why this is true." All right, so imagine if we counted all the grass that's out in the schoolyard. Millions and millions and millions of pieces of grass. So for every plant, there's a lot more plants than there are animals and people. The biggest living things on earth are plants. The giant sequoia trees of California. Some of the smallest living things are also plants. One very tiny kind of plant, the diatom, is so small that about 500 diatoms can live in one drop of water. So can you imagine 5 little teeny tiny plants living inside of one drop of water? So you definitely need a microscope in order to see those plants. All plants were created by God for man to use. In fact, if there were no green plants on earth, we could not survive. Plants produce food and provide oxygen, shelter, fuel, medicine, and many other things that we need or enjoy. So let's talk about how plants produce food. And you can even get out your yellow highlighter, and we're going to be highlighting a little bit in your book. Okay, please. Yellow highlighter. Please highlight very neatly because someone next year will be using your book. Okay, so you don't color with your highlighter. We're not going to do this because it'll soak through your page and make it all wet. Just draw one line. Okay. So we are going to highlight this beginning of this first paragraph. Photosynthesis. Living things on earth depend on green plants for food. You can go ahead and highlight that first sentence. Matthew, do you have yellow? I just prefer yellow because it's not so dark. This is because green plants are able to make food, something that no animal or human can do. Green plants contain chlorophyll. So everything I just read, go ahead and highlight. Pretty much the beginning of that first paragraph there. All the way down to chlorophyll. And then you can even highlight past chlorophyll where it says, a green coloring matter that makes it possible for them to manufacture their own food.
So do that.
And stop. So we can't make our own food, but plants can. And because plants have something called chlorophyll, they use that in order to make food. All right. Now the process that it makes food is called photosynthesis. People, animals, and plants without chlorophyll depend on green plants as the source for all their food. 2/3 of the food we eat comes directly from plants. The remaining 1/3 comes from animals, which also depend on plants. So think about your lunch. Let's just say you had Chick-fil-A for lunch. So let's say you had a sandwich. The bun is wheat, so wheat is a plant. And then the chicken is an animal, but the animal, in order to survive, had to eat grain. So that's a plant. And then your chips, that was a potato, that's a plant. And your Rice Krispie treat, Rice Krispie, rice is a plant. Gummies, I don't know. That's not even a food. Okay. Alright. So basically everything you eat is either going to be a plant or an animal. So let's think about the plants we eat. Think of all the ways we use plants for food. We eat the seeds of wheat, rice, and corn plants we just talked about. We also grind those seeds to make bread. We use some seeds, like those of the sunflower and the soybean, to obtain oil used in cooking. Have you eaten any roots lately? If you had beets, carrots, or sweet potatoes for supper last night, you have. Think of all the leaves we eat, such as lettuce, spinach, cabbage, beet, greens, and watercress. We munch the crunchy stems of celery and cook rhubarb stems to use in delicious desserts. Your French fries came from the underground stem of a potato plant. We even eat some flowers, such as broccoli and cauliflower. Probably some of your favorite plant products are the fruits of some plants, such as crisp apples, mellow bananas, and juicy berries. So, did that make you hungry reading about all those plants?
It definitely made me
I had
crispy treat.
I had tomato for lunch, I had broccoli for lunch, I had a banana for lunch, I have an apple for later. So, lots of good things, yes.
When I was young, I found some berries and I went to go eat them. There were a bunch of thorns in front of them, and I walked right into them, not knowing they were there, and it hurt.
Ouch. Sounds painful. Okay, so that's how plants produce food. Now let's talk about how plants improve the air. Take a deep breath and fill up your lungs with the air that your body must have in order to live. With every breath, you are removing oxygen from the air. Think of all the people who have ever lived since God created Adam and Eve, the first man and woman. They and all the animals have taken oxygen from the air or water with each breath also. How is it that there is any oxygen left for us to breathe? God planned a wonderful way to resupply the air with oxygen. When a green plant makes its food by photosynthesis, it takes carbon dioxide from the air and puts oxygen back into the air for you to breathe. When you breathe, you return carbon dioxide to the air for the plants to use. Trees, the largest plants, help to control the amount of moisture in the air and in the soil. When there is not enough rain, the trees take moisture from deep within the earth and release that moisture into the air. All right, and then let's read that next little section. Plants improve the soil. Fallen leaves decay and provide a layer of rich, moist soil. The leaves that remain on the trees shade the earth and keep the soil from receiving too much heat from the sun's rays. The leaves also help to keep the earth from becoming too cold at night. By providing a layer of insulation, the leaves help the soil to retain some of the heat it absorbed during the day. So I noticed that at my house because I have a lot of trees at my house. It's actually cooler in the summer than than houses out in the open. And then it's even warmer in the winter. It seems like the trees block the wind and it keeps the heat in as well. So, and that also, it keeps the soil from, let's see, keeps the soil warm or cool depending on the temperature that it needs. Okay? So tomorrow we'll actually do some things in our journal. And I wanted to get a little bit further today, but that's all the further we could get. So go ahead and you can put your books away.